Medieval Day at the Durham Academy Lower School. The students showcased their projects, and I, an eager fourth grader, have spent weeks putting together armor for my American Girl doll and her horse. They are transformed into a destrier, or medieval war horse, and 14th century man-at-arms, complete with helm, jousting lance, and horse armor. She is a heroic knight and the medieval heroine of my dreams. What I was far from knowing then, what took me decades to learn, is that the seemingly odd obsession with the medieval was more than just a childhood phase. It was a core part of my identity. Fully embracing it instead of relegating it to an embarrassing quirk would be the key to true fulfillment as an adult. Throughout childhood, knights, castles, and stories of epic battles were more exciting to me than pop stars or playing sports. When my family moved to Florida in middle school, however, my passion became a feeling of deep shame. Normal teenagers don't bury their noses in books about castles or memorize the original French words for pieces of armor. So I did what I thought would make my life easier, and I started to learn how to fit in. It was a full-time job eventually I learned to master. Fast forward to college, where I learned what successful women wore, how they spoke, and what they talked about. I gradually pruned myself into a version of me that others found acceptable. When I graduated, I picked a career in medicine, which is what society said was what smart and compassionate young women did. Mature adults who are useful to society don't care about fairy tales. It was time to grow up. I was an excellent student, and I genuinely wanted to help people, so I listened, and I did the work. I spent over a decade fitting in like a champ through medical school, surgical residency, fellowship, until I achieved what society considers the pinnacle of success, a position as a surgeon at a top academic hospital, a substantial feat for women still today. It was everything I was told I should want, but throughout it, something was missing. Surgical training was brutal, 80-hour work weeks, endless nights in the hospital, pressure for very good reasons to be perfect. While my peers struggled with burnout, I struggled with something deeper, something I couldn't quite articulate. I'd done everything right, and yet deep down, I felt like an imposter. It wasn't simply that I was a woman in a male-dominated field. It was the fact that I had buried a core part of myself, the medieval enthusiast, the dreamer, the kid who wanted to be a knight. She yearned to be free. The first time I allowed myself to reclaim a piece of that identity was small. I brought a copy of Lord of the Rings to work, and I kept it in my desk. It was my quiet acknowledgement, my reminder that I was still me, even in the sterile, structured world of medicine. But it took me years to realize the truth, that parts of me that were buried were not distractions. They were my greatest strengths. My love for the medieval doesn't just make me happy, it makes me better. Those literature classes I took in college on medieval stories and sagas, they made me a stronger writer than most of my medical peers. So much so that I became an editorial writer for a major orthopedic journal when I was still in training. The ability to see the world through different historical lenses or cultural lenses, that skill helped me connect with patients, to seek opportunities to learn and travel internationally, and to question old paradigms in medicine that others took for granted. And here's the biggest realization of all. The world doesn't just allow for people to embrace their full, weird selves, it needs them to. The world doesn't need yet another doctor who fits the mold. It needs me, a sports medicine surgeon specialist who understands the human body and who loves the medieval, who sees century-old martial traditions through the lens of the human body, who combines modern science, sports science, and history. And it needs you in your fullest, most eccentric form before it's too late. Hospice nurse Bronnie Ware observed in her 2011 memoir, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, that the number one above all else regret in patients, they wish they had had the courage to live a life true to themselves instead of the life others expected of them. Are you brave enough to live that life? I am. Which is why after 3 years in practice, I'm stepping away from a traditional surgical career. In July, I am hanging up my white coat, not because I failed, but because I am choosing a path that integrates all of who I am. I'm the only sports medicine doctor in the world who jousts and fences with the rapier, longsword, and saber. So last year, I started a business serving historical reenactors and fencers around the world, helping them maintain their bodies and stay conditioned. I create programs for modern and historical fencing schools alike, keeping their students healthy and fit in top form. I am building a life and a career that is uniquely, unapologetically mine. And here's what I want you to take from this. Success is not a title. It is not the job that makes your parents proud or a curated resume. Success is being fully yourself in what you do and how you live your life. So let me ask you, what part of you has been buried because you thought it wasn't practical? What passions have you ignored because you were told they didn't fit into a career path? The world doesn't need another person shaped into a pre-approved mold. It needs you, exactly as you are. It needs the scientist who loves poetry, the teacher obsessed with 18th century fashion, the engineer who spends weekends designing board games. Your weirdness is not a flaw, it is your greatest strength. The sooner you embrace that, the sooner you unlock the kinds of success that actually matters, the kind that makes you wake up every day excited to be alive. So please, be bold, be you. Forge your own path with sword and shield or whatever passions make you come alive. Because if that little girl in 4th grade could see me now, I know what she'd think. She'd think it's cool that I became a doctor, but she'd think it's even cooler that I never gave up on her dreams, and neither should you. Thank you.